Mr. Bowers, would you like? We got 5:30. Sam,
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
one helpful moment.
Jenny David.
Here.
Roger Mayhew.
Yes.
Charles Wiltie.
Here.
Brenda Simmons. Craig Scott.
Here.
Item 2, approval of the agenda. We do have some changes to the agenda. Item C, underneath item C, 2, the sergeant position proposal, they're going to delay that, I believe, tonight. And instead, it's going to be the USDA grant. And then also under discussion items, I added 5C. It's a conversation I had with Mr. Blamer today. I just kind of want to update everybody. Oh, there's more in there? Oh, geez, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I guess I'll add it too.
All right, what was
Holy
it?
smokes. It's just discussion related to transit employees. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda, commissioners?
No.
Item 3, public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Any public comment on the phone? Item 4A, Randy Booth, Equalization Director, related to annual remonumentation contracts. Survey service agreements, J-card survey.
Randy had a conflict tonight. He's up in Mayo, but these are pretty routine contracts that you've seen every year. Well, 2 of you have seen so far. New commissioners. We have what's called this remonumentation grant, and what they're doing is surveying all the section corners of the county and lining them up with GIS coordinates so they get more accurate mapping, more accurate surveying in the field. We have 2 contracts on the agenda for surveyors. So it's 2 different surveyors who will be doing that work. And the 3rd contract is for what they call the county representative. This is the surveyor that oversees the work of the 2 other surveyors as well as his own, but establishing which corners are going to be surveyed and the priority of those corners, the history of the corners, everything that the state is requiring to have documented. He's the one who will sign off to make sure everything is done accordingly. This has been going on in Michigan for the better part of the last 20 years. I think we're pretty close to having this county finished. When Randy does get back, it would probably be a good idea to ask him where we are in terms of all the section corners in Ogemaw County. But it is a project that's funded totally by the state. And when it is finally completed, everything will be, all of our section corners will be tied to a certain point that everybody will agree on. And hopefully that will help to eliminate any overlaps or gaps in surveys that have happened over the years because they weren't done at this level of accuracy. So pretty routine, and I would suggest that moving them forward to next week would be a good move.
These are the same names that we've seen repeatedly. Does he put this out for RFP?
I think these are the only surveyors in the county. I think I'm trying to recall from the conversation from last year. He
That's
doesn't
correct.
have a lot of choice.
That's
So does that mean he doesn't? I mean, that's stay with the same because, okay.
Yeah.
Questions, commissioners?
No, I've been seeing this every year myself, and I'm glad to hear that it may come to an end. I was pretty much told that we would keep just doing it forever, but that would be good. It would.
Well, the end might be 20 years from now. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I won't be here for that. So.
Commissioner Wiltie?
So it's completely funded by the state, you said, Tim?
Yes, and I want to say it's something like $64,000, something in that neighborhood that we received for this. And it's actually funded with some of the deeds that are recorded. The Registered Deeds Office, I think a certain amount of that is set aside for the remonumentation program. That's how they get it.
So I think Tim Lapham has been the county rep. And it appears here that he's going to continue that. Was there any talk between the 2 companies about changing that?
Again, I'm taxing my memory from last year. I
Okay.
think Randy told us that Mr. Card was not interested in doing that.
Okay,
So,
I wouldn't be surprised, but. No, I don't have any problem putting this on for next meeting.
Do you have anything, Commissioner?
And that, no.
No. Okay. So we'll have all three of those items. Item 3B, Mike Bowers, Emergency Management Coordinator related to grant projects. First is a cybersecurity grant. Mr. Bowers, come on up.
Good afternoon or evening. I'm not sure quite
Nice to see you.
which it is. How's everybody doing? Good?
Good.
Good. So I'm here to present a couple grants to you guys. This is they're both on the fiscal year 2020 Homeland Security Grant Program, which ends the end of May. So any money that is not spent by May 31st goes back to FEMA. So I'm looking at the first grant that I want to talk about is a cybersecurity assessment grant. It's for a third party to come in and do an assessment on our cyber protections and look for the gaps and weaknesses in our cybersecurity, both with our incoming internet and our outgoing email programs. So Tom has picked 3 on the incoming and 156 units on the outgoing. The grant is not part of Ogemaw County's regular allotment from the grant program. This is regional money that I was able to acquire from the group. So it's in addition to our regular allotment. We have currently we have 2 of the quotes in. One's for 15,000, the other one's for 8,500. I expect we'll probably spend 8,500 on it. Of course, we'll have to use the lowest bidder. So I would like a resolution to go ahead and move forward with that grant to go ahead and do the cybersecurity assessment. And that will follow up with 21 and 22 year grants that we will be able to get supplies, equipment and whatnot, hard drives or software, hardware. I'm really not sure how it works myself. So, but we'll qualify for those things in the future year grants because we did the assessment this year. So the second is our allotted money. I have $6,000 left over from the 2020 fiscal year Homeland Security grant that I do not have any requests to spend. Nobody has come to me and I haven't found anything specific for spending that money on. So my thought was to combine Ogemaw County, Oscoda County, and Aranet County, which all 3 combined total 7,500. The huge part of it coming from Ogemaw County, though. My CERT teams are doing expos in all 3 counties in May and June, where we're inviting the public in, and we're inviting in EMHSD, 211 dispatch centers, police, fire, EMS, all of the partners that would respond during a disaster. And we're going to educate the public on who would be involved and what takes place and what resources are out there. And then we're also going to be trying to instruct the public on how to prepare for themselves. So one of the ideas that we had for our CERT table is to have go bags, which are like a gym bag, and then put instructions of what to pack in it, where somebody would have it. They would have it like by their front door, closet, or whatever. And if they had to leave in a hurry, their stuff is already packed and ready to go, so they can get out quickly and safely and be prepared for what may be coming in a disaster. And then we want to do fingerprinting for children, because sometimes children are either already separated from the family when a disaster happens, or they get separated in the process, and it will help with reunification. And then for our responders, we want to do solar powered battery chargers for like laptops, cell phones, stuff like that, during power outages or, you know, in rural woods, extended period type situations. Now, the go bags, we cannot give to the public with our grants. Our grant has to be for certain numbers. So what we've done with the go bags is we're developing a form where a person can get a go bag, but they have to agree to give us their name, address, phone number, and email, and they would try to make themselves available during a time of need for the county. So we could actually end up with 300 extra certain auxiliary people in the community that we could call upon, rather than the 30 to 50 we have currently. We could put those lesser trained people to do duties during a situation. Things as simple as handing out equipment or water or food, or doing assistance in a Red Cross shelter, or traffic control, or work with a team during search and rescue. So I see it as a human resource capability that up north would really need.
Questions?
Um,
Commissioner Mayhew, do you have any questions? Commissioner Scott?
yeah, the shares, with the other counties, is that money that they only have left over?
That's all they have left over from their grants, correct?
Was the original grants pretty much even?
Yes, so when money is allotted to the counties in the beginning of the grant program, I believe there was $21,000 total in the fiscal year 2020. And each county of the 14 counties all got an equal allotment. You know, the $6,000 is what we have not spent here in Ogemaw County.
Was there any other things that we missed?
Nothing that anybody has
Missed one?
brought, nothing that anybody has brought to me, saying that they would like to.
What limitations were we on that?
I'm sorry?
What limitations did we have on that?
It has to go towards the fight against terrorism. Very specifically, this money has to be linked directly to terrorism.
Could that you brought up, I believe, Commissioner Mayhew, the generator at the emergency shelter there on 33, that couldn't,
I can't get a generator.
for an emergency shelter,
They know,
that can be considered terrorism.
I agree, but they won't let us get generators. They haven't let us get generators for about 5 years now.
Commissioner Wiltie?
Mike and I, we talk often, big supporter of this, so I don't have any questions at the moment.
I mean, I am definitely welcome to open ideas. If you.
Yeah, but we're coming down to the wire here,
Correct.
the end of May.
But we do have, you know,
PR is a great thing, and
well, this
I
isn't
think-
PR, this is building our resources. So this is building the capability of having potentially as many as 300 extra people ready to respond during a time of need.
Yeah, I don't think this has anything to do with PR. This is save lives during an emergency.
This is about education and training at all levels, and this is about
well,
getting more people involved.
right. But I mean, we're not buying anything here, some kits and stuff like that.
The go bags is where we pull the people into the system.
I like the idea of the go bags, like an emergency.
Right, and they are the most expensive item in the three things.
The bags are what's in them.
The bags are just that because you put your personal items in the bags.
Oh, so it's an empty bag.
So it's an empty bag with instructions of what to do. And it's labeled with a cert label. But those people become part of our response system. And that's the real thing that we're buying here.
So it's not for residents, it's for individuals that help in the crisis. I just want to make sure I'm following you.
I'm not allowed because it has to be the fight for terrorism.
Mhm.
So anything, sir, is pretty much a guarantee. So, but it has to go to certain members. So I can't hand it out to the public and say, here, this is for you, for your household.
That's fair.
Thank you for being there. But I can hand it out to the public and have them sign a piece of paper with their information saying that they will participate as a responder during the time of need.
Right.
And that makes them part of the CERT auxiliary group, and that bolsters our numbers of responders.
Any other questions? We definitely appreciate all your work, and if the generator has been brought to us a couple years, and very consistently.
I will.
So
I
if
will
there's
ask again.
anything,
We'll ask again about a generator.
Okay.
So, do we have any idea what size generator, what size building?
that you, Commissioner, was that you, Commissioner?
Oh, Commission on Aging? Yeah,
You on the Commission on Aging?
Commission on Aging is a $30,000 to $40,000 generator.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about, we briefly discussed ARPA funds. Again, that's an emergency shelter for Ogemaw County.
Right.
How many emergency shelters are there for Ogemaw County?
We have 4 of them listed with 211, and the shelter is not one of them. The Commission on Aging is not one of them listed with 211 or with Red
It's
Cross.
not listed?
No, it is not, but I can get it listed with both.
What are the 4 that are listed?
The township, Cummins Township Hall.
Is it- is it-
One of the oldest buildings in the county.
Yep,
It is one of the old.
it's all about location though.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It's about location. So Cummins Township
Don't
Hall,
let the wind out.
is it the West Branch Township Hall up here on Route?
Is it West Branch or Ogemaw? Is it Ogemaw?
Horton.
Oh,
Horton,
Horton Town.
Horton Township Hall.
okay.
It's large.
I knew that one was. What is out towards Mills? What's the location out there?
The Faith Lutheran Church,
Okay,
Faith Lutheran Church in Mills Township. And
Northeast county,
I'm sorry,
northeast part of the county, you got something like Rose Township, oh,
Lupton.
South Branch.
I think it's Lupton Fire Department. I'm trying to pull them out. I have 17 total. So I'm trying to pull them all out of my head.
Okay,
And I actually just established them all during the winter storm there at Christmas. I just established all of them with 211. So we have a new system with 211 also. So when somebody calls dispatch 911 and it's not actually an emergency, they are referred to 211. So when 211 gets the phone calls and they start to see a need in an area, at least in any of my areas, they see a need in an area, they call me and tell me that there's a need. Then I call my key holder, I call my CERT team, and I make sure that both are available to actually get it open. Then I call 211 back and tell them that we will be open at a particular time for a particular amount of time. And then they contact the people in need and send them our way. So we have, and that's generally, that's the general system to be used. So
we'll put this on for a resolution.
yes,
Appreciate your updates. I know I don't always respond, but I do read them and I appreciate them. So thank you.
thank you. Thank you all for your support.
The more communication, the better, and you do an excellent job.
And I really think, I really think the go bags and is really going to bolster our numbers. I think it's going to work.
Thank you. And nice seeing
Thank
you.
you all very much. You have a great day.
You too. Drive safe.
I will.
Thanks, Mike.
Item C, Brian Gilbert Sheriff, related to one electronic prescription service.
Excuse me. Oh, Lieutenant Ozer's on vacation, so he sent me with notes. We can get through it really quickly. You did receive the 3 service provider quotes on your laptops, did you?
Yes,
three,
we got the first one, Dr. Helper. And nope, 2. I thought there was a third one.
yeah,
Yeah, did I miss it?
RXMT, is that
Should be 3 of them. 2 of them are pretty high, and then there's the one at 725, which is
Dr.
what
Helper?
Lieutenant Ozer recommends.
and
He went through the 3 systems. That service was the easiest to use. for all his personnel. The other ones have a lot of extra bells and whistles that he didn't feel would be necessary. So he was recommending the 725, enter into a service agreement with those. It's for the electronic prescriptions coming from the jail. The jail is not, what's the word? Not immune or not, like a hospital has the ability because they have a pharmacy right inside their building. The jail does not, so they have to use electronic prescriptions in order to send prescriptions out. So
These are the same two we had in front of us last week. There's only two on here.
there's only two. There should be
Yeah.
three, I thought.
We have that RXNT, that's, I think, the one you're talking about.
Yeah, and then the doctor helper.
I had
That's at 725.
725 was the
Sure,
price,
and
the
then-
one he recommended.
He did send it out to all the local pharmacies.
Helper.
This is different than the pharmacy conversation. This is just the service for the electronic pharmacy. So when the doctor in-house orders the prescription for an inmate, then that gets sent to the pharmacy electronically.
Mhm.
So as far as who
So this is just for the technology aspect. This isn't for the prescription.
this isn't for the prescriptions. This is just.
How were they doing it before?
I think they walked them down, or I'm not sure exactly how they were doing it before. I'd have to check with Lieutenant Holder to be 100% sure, but they were not being sent electronically. It doesn't sound like, or at least most of them. So this will come into compliance with that MCL law that they were talking about.
So how is this not part of our medical contract? Is this we have a medical contract with the current medical services. This isn't part of their contract for them to pay?
This statute actually came into January 1 of this year, so it's came along after our contract with medical provider. And this is the tool to get us there. This isn't something like the medical provider would actually do. This is like I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that's similar. Well, it's be like the lien. So you've got equipment that you need to get to access the lien. This is what this will do. This will get us to the whatever the endpoint is for the prescription.
Right, but I thought that was, I guess, I need to look at this last page here. I unfortunately didn't get a great chance to read this as well as I should have. I thought that was just necessary for controlled substances, which the jail does not do controlled substances.
My understanding, there is occasion where they do control substances if the doctor orders it.
Well, this does say controlled and non-controlled. Also otherwise exempt under the statute.
And the exemption, the way Lieutenant Olger told me, was like hospitals and places that have pharmacies on campus. And because the jail does not have an on-campus pharmacy, we have to use an electronic prescription.
I just would have assumed that they already were.
service.
And I can't believe that that's not part of their contract. Can you look into their contract and find out? It's got to be in there, what services are.
Well, it says in the notes that he gave me, still being put into place, and we're now waiting for the doctor to complete his section so we can get it up and running.
Right. Well, they'll just have to put in their information, their national provider number and their DEA number and all that information. But again, I just can't believe that this part of it's not part of our current medical contract. So you'll look at that. There's got to be something in there just to see if this is something we have to pay for or they had.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I guess I didn't look at the contract. So it's just something new that came.
Right.
So it started in January 1st. So, going back to the pharmacy, since we brought that up.
Yeah.
Talking about it. He gave the history. We started with the original West Branch Pharmacy. They closed. Family Fair, they closed. Rose City Drug, there's some issues. We're doing Skidway Pharmacy. They were delivering. The biggest thing Lieutenant Oger pointed out to me is they require the bubble packs for any medications that come into the jail. So when they check Rite Aid, Walgreens, and Walmart, all three of those pharmacies will not provide the bubble packs to the jail with the medications.
What's a bubble pack?
Bubble pack
Packaged.
is silver. That's how it's packaged. So
Yeah.
you have to punch them out through. It's self-contained, one dose per
It can be, or it can be like Rose City sets them up for patients for the entire week, each day, morning pills, afternoon, I mean, so I
Yeah.
mean, it can be, it doesn't have to be one specific medication in that packet.
Depending on how many prescriptions they have.
Correct.
Yeah, so each patient, correct me if I'm wrong, would get a bubble pack with their prescriptions. in it.
Mhm.
And it would be.
AM pills, afternoon pills.
No,
But do your guys have to be individually per medication?
I don't, we'd have to ask Lieutenant Ogier. He's available by email if we want to shoot him something here this week, but I
Right.
just know that they want the bubble packs because it's
Mhm.
safest.
It makes sense.
efficient way to keep control of any of the prescriptions that come in. So Meyer has agreed to use the bubble packs. And then they're finding that some of the costs are a lot less. The antibiotics, certain ones that are commonly
Mhm.
prescribed are free through Meyer. So it's not technically a contract according to Lieutenant Ogier, it's just a service. We can continue to use others. But in the best interest, to save as much money so far, it's been Meyer.
People would be surprised, shocked by same prescription to different pharmacies and the cost. I mean, it's absolutely shocking. So we do highly encourage to unfortunately shop around to pharmacies on occasion.
Well, and it's Lieutenant Ogier was excited when he first talked about it. He
Mhm.
was, especially with the antibiotics, that there could be.
Some are free.
The $4 list,
I mean,
Um,
who pays for it though? Somebody's paying for it. They're not just handing out free drugs.
Apparently, there's some
there
programs.
is a
out
majority
there.
of pharmacies
There's.
offer.
Yeah, sorry,
So they're just
There is.
billing the government on their own.
somewhere, or pharmaceuticals are given, as a service, a write-off.
Right.
Myers is even, there's another program and they haven't made a decision yet where they give out actual cards
Mhm.
as part of their service, and they're still looking at whether the jail will be eligible for that service for inmates. So there could be even more savings.
McLaren does it too. Prescriptions that are at a lower cost to local pharmacies.
So that's where we're at. The service agreement, service provider agreement, Lieutenant Ogier recommended the 725.
Just making sure, again, occasionally we're checking around, which it sounds like he is, especially when new pharmacies come into town, just because there can be such a difference versus getting comfortable and sticking with one.
And he does a good job of, along with working with the medical provider and checking around, staying on top of things. So
Any questions, guys?
Well, I guess I'm don't know what this prescribing is, the electronics prescribing, why is we're hiring somebody so we can email the drugstore to get what we need?
that's what it sounds like. It's got to go through the secure system in order to get to the pharmacy, in order for the prescription to be filled. So it brings us into compliance with the
You can't
MCL.
call them up and you can't just email them, you gotta hire
Sounds like we have to
a
go. through this.
subcontractor to do it.
Well, then it can be tracked, but again, I thought it was just for, I know controlled substances, they don't take any handwritten, any faxed. But as far as non-controlled, that I was not aware of. Everything on our end is e-scribe. We call it e-scribe through.
They don't even trust you cops. Geez, you can't write it.
It's called checks and balances.
It's not us. it's
Checks
the
and balances, but,
We're not prescribing meds, so.
well, no, but you need to refill the bottle. You need to refill the prescription. If I need refill, then I tell the drugstore, refill my,
Based on the doctor's prescription.
right, and they'll call the doctor's office and because they want to make the sale, so.
Yeah, as far as calling, the chair mentioned the e-scripts. That's what this service is for the jail.
Yeah, again, I'm pretty sure it's just controlled substances, but Tim, I would have thought whatever medical services we're going with, that's something they should provide. So if you can, again, look into that. I agree with this system. I just can't believe that's something the county should have to pay for. But, okay,
Well,
what, the USDA, is that it on that?
yep, that's it on that. So I have. Matter about.
USDA grants?
Got stuff with USDA grants. And our current vehicle stuff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't have nothing to respond to what he had, but.
I'm not trying to steal any trucks.
All right. For the new commissioners, last year, the county got 3 USDA grants for vehicles. We completed those projects and now we just need the chair to sign off on those 3 grants. So that we can get the county can get their reimbursement of the $92,400 for those vehicles. And with that, get that closed out for last year, and then this year, we'd like to apply for 2 USDA grants for vehicles. That we would also like the chair to sign. Doesn't mean that we're gonna accept it, it just means we're just gonna apply for it. If we get it, then we'll come back and at that time and it'll be up to you guys.
Ask to make up the difference.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Let's get right down to it.
Yep.
How much are they for?
how much are they for? Let me see. One is 65,000, which the county's portion of that one would be 29,250 for that one. And the second one is 70,000. And the county's portion of that would be 32. Because the USDA pays 45 or 50, excuse me, 55%.
What's in your budget?
This will be next fiscal. It'll be next fiscal year. It'll be August.
324?
Yeah, it'd be for 24. We don't, yeah, because USDA won't even know. We won't even know if we're gonna get anything until after August. So at that time, we'll have to talk about it again. Obviously, at that point, we just want the okay to, and the signature from the chair to go ahead and pursue this.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, I think we should put both the okay to accept and the okay.
Let's
to
just apply. Yeah.
just apply.
Well,
It's just apply.
You need her to sign off on accepting and closing out,
The 3 from last year, correct.
right?
Yeah.
So that's one question.
That's already spent, right?
And that authorization is already given to the chair to sign.
So, yeah,
Okay,
but I just wanted to let you guys know where we're at with those 3. Those 3 projects are done and we're ready to close them out now so that the county can be reimbursed.
any other grants on the warmer?
I've got several out. Yes. So for other projects,
Thank you.
but onto the
You don't want to just enlighten me on a couple of them?
later.
Thank you, sir.
I have one less thing.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. The animal control truck.
Yeah,
You guys have all seen it.
yeah,
Um,
don't tell them.
well,
It's gone to the dogs already.
it's gone to the dogs. Yeah, no. When
You didn't hit
I was getting all this stuff around for it, I kind of failed to add a few things in.
Oh,
Please finish.
Yes, basically, in a nutshell, I'd like another $1,150 for running boards put on it so that the ACO officer doesn't have to jump up and down into it all the time and potentially get injured. And seat covers that would repel the dog hair. And floor liners, and then have the tailgate spray lined when he's loading dogs. The stuff is not gonna scratch the tailgate all up. And that's all local businesses providing quotes,
Total is 1150.
$1,150, correct?
how much in the budget? How much you got in the budget for a vehicle for
I don't know, it's your
for
budget.
them? No, it's your budget.
Oh, this is animal.
Animal control, is there an animal control vehicle budget line?
This was part of this.
I know, we bought the truck and the box on ARPA. But is there anything on the line for vehicle for, you know, a line item? There must be something where, well, we're maintaining the vehicle. What budget does that come out of?
Vehicle repairs and maintenance.
Under animal control, right?
Correct.
Okay, well, how much is in that?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's not 1,100.
Okay, well, that's just
Yeah, there's not.
I'm curious to know.
Sure.
Because where do you want me to come up with this money? You don't care. just as long as I come up with it.
I do care. I'm texting.
Yeah, okay, but you didn't care how much was in the budget, so.
Tim, do you have,
I don't have that information.
Tim, do you have input?
I'll find it.
You'll find what's in that line item.
Line, yeah, we are. It's Mike Bauer's budget. Let's see here. I don't, here we are. $500.
Oh, so we only gotta put up
$650.
650, you're right.
Tim, do you
Is
have
that,
any,
is that for gas, oil and everything?
No, that's just for repair. For gas and oil, there's a different line. for
Okay.
that. That's
All kind of money there.
for the additional, what, $550, $600, whatever he needs. You've got a contingency line in.
Right, I
Roland.
know, and I don't want to tell them about that though.
Oh, okay. Forget I say anything. Strike that from the records. Yeah.
So my ace in the hole, I'm not.
okay,
Yeah, I in fact would suggest that the entire 1150 come out of the contingency, leaving that 500 in case there's some repair later in the year that needs to be made.
it's a nice,
On a new truck.
Well, it shouldn't, but
But it'll keep that truck new for.
a nice looking
several
truck. We
years.
definitely should, especially with dogs and animals coming in and out of it.
Yes. And at some point, I'm also gonna I'm gonna try and find other ways, but I also would like to get a ramp, aluminum ramp. Well, you gotta pick a 550-pound dog up. It's a lot easier to walk up a ramp instead of trying to pull it back. I would hurt somebody's back. So, but I'm working on some other funds to get that. So don't worry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Probably did.
Item D, Michael.
Ramp.
Commissioner Scott. Item D, Michael Benefield, Point Broadband related to Robin Grant application letter of support. Hi,
Hi. fancy meeting you
evening.
all here.
it's been a minute.
We've got some exciting things happening. I'm sure Tim's. I don't know if you guys have been talking about, I think we talked last year about the funding that I'm talking about right now. Essentially.
We have two new commissioners here.
Yes, so the last year there was a word on the street, the federal government was going to implement more funding for broadband out there. It's not like ARPA funding or Robin, or not Robin, RDOF. It's actually to spread out beyond where RDOF was. So for instance, in Ogemaw County, I was hoping to have a bigger presentation of this. There's a bunch of gray areas here that you kind of see throughout the county.
Oh,
These are the areas of the county that the federal government deems unserviced or underserved. That's where that funding is for. Covers a lot of areas. That's what we're going after as Point Broadband. When I say Point Broadband, M33 access as of the end of this month is no longer M33 access. So the owner sold it to a company called Point Broadband out of Alabama. They are a national company,
Wow.
but they don't like to take the local companies and just corporate, make them a corporate company and here you go. They are actually keeping everybody in place. Andy Quigley is still running the ship, the direction that he deems with the backing of Point, which is really an amazing situation. So that's what they've done with all of their companies that they've acquired, which is really cool. So we've talked to a lot of the other companies that are with Point, some of their other people, like some are downstate. There's a couple of them downstate, and they've been with them now for a few years and they love it. They said they literally, Point is literally just giving them equipment, better pay for their people, better ability to do more. And it's actually going to help us out a lot in this region. We're able to bring better jobs, which I'm excited about. I can actually offer good stuff to my people and go after those people that really want to work and give them benefits and stuff.
people out there really want to work. Eh?
There's a few, they're hard to find. That is an ongoing endeavor. But with that said, it's definitely a big push for us because now Spectrum is not they're a competition. We don't worry about them because we have a better product and a better process, and we're a local company still. We still have that local entity that we go out, we do things because we know our community and know our people, and we are there to help them out in those aspects. We just have that funding behind us. So that funding we're going after now, one of the big things it's for is the federal government says, well, we want to know what the local entities are doing. So if we're going after funding in Ogemaw County, they would like to see a letter from you guys of support for point broadband. That's not a contract. It's not any of that stuff. It's literally just you guys saying, hey, this is a company that we feel is going to support our local community, and we would like to support them in their endeavor to get this Robin funding. And that's one of it's like a point system. So the more letters you get, the more you can, the federal government looks at and says, okay, this one, we need to go with this one for this area because they have local support.
How much funding? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
How much funding?
The state is getting like 258 million for this funding. We're trying, I think, out of all the counties that we're going after, which I think there's like 6 counties that we're targeting, most of the region here. I believe we're trying to go after somewhere in the range of like 60 million to encompass all these different counties from all the areas. Now we're matching these funds, which is the other awesome thing. It is a matching funds thing. So as their processes go, depending on how many houses you pass, depends on how much you match and so forth. But Point's got the money to back whatever we need to do. So that's the awesome thing about it. I love it. So I'm actually able to do this for our communities.
So all you're asking from us is a letter of support.
A letter of support. And that's pretty basic.
I think that's
He
amazing.
has, I believe, all the information. I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna suggest we ratchet that up. We do a resolution of support that the board votes on. I think.
That would be great because the sooner the better. Yeah. I know Oscoda wrote theirs up today. They sent me theirs. The counties did theirs. Osco did theirs. Aranex doing theirs. So we're definitely impacting a lot of people in our communities here. So
What's the time frame on this?
now.
When are they going to distribute the funds?
The funds, we won't know distribution until after everything's finalized. The finalize is the end of this month. They have to have it all in before the end of this month, but they already have everything.
So you are cutting it close.
I am. So it's been interesting trying to figure out what I was supposed to do, because this has been new to me in some of this constructs of some of these areas. But yeah, we've got several letters already, which is exciting. So.
Questions, Commissioner Mayhew?
Yeah, I got this speech already.
Yeah, the West Branch Township.
So you're saying this new business that's taken over,
Mhm.
they're gonna match funds?
So as the federal government does stuff, a lot of times they will request a company or something to put in 30% or 50% funds. The more you put in, it's kind of like going to the
Better
car.
points.
The more you put down for your car, the more, oh yeah, we'll definitely give you a loan. It's that concept behind it. Federal government said, oh, you're willing to put in 50% matching funds in this and you want, sure, we'll give you that because you're going to match those. So that's essentially what they look at. And it's really based off of how many homes in an area and all that stuff. They have this whole scale based off of. It's pretty crazy.
'Cause I need to wrap my head around this more, because I would think that we would be the ones trying to get these funds and then we would contract out the best price for our buck. But you're controlling that.
And the federal government's the one controlling it all. It's not even us. We're just going out as a company, investing in areas and saying, we're willing to invest $60 million in this. And they'll give us $60 million on top of it. And we're going out to our community saying, hey, we want to reach you guys. And we want to give you guys the best bang for your buck in that construct. And we're, keep that local feeling and local aspect about the company and go to my businesses and talk to people and make sure they are getting what they need and the financial areas too. So we have all the federal programming installed, so the ACP program, so. And a lot of people don't know this, the ACP program is a system set up from the federal government where you can get $30 off your bill. Every month, if you have a child that's on like the lunches and stuff, and you have, or if you're on social security, or if you're a veteran, and there's a big list that you have to submit the paperwork and get approval through this program. But that's something we have in place too. And a lot of my people in this communities didn't even know this existed. And so that's another thing I'm trying to educate the public on is, hey, look, there is things out there to help people through these things. And we've been doing it just as a small company. We were trying to do some of those things just on our own. But now that we're a bigger company, we have the federal, side of things done, and we're able to do all that stuff. That's just really awesome. We'll be able to grab a hold of those types of things and say, hey, we got the program already done, everything's in place. It's really cool.
Commissioner Scott.
Yeah, you mentioned Spectrum as your competitor. Now,
Sort
you
of.
said it, your words.
Yeah.
They're your competitor. So are they after this grant too?
Yes.
So why am I supporting you rather than not supporting them? If they come to me and ask me for support, do I give them support just
You can.
because, well, that's not the answer.
Okay, keep going. I know.
How many other competitors are out there? You're saying you're local,
Mhm.
Spectrum's local. Some of my friends work there.
Right.
And they're lifelong Ogemaw County residents, contrary to some of your people. So, how many other competitors are out there? How many others are going after this grant? And
In
so
reality-
I, as a commissioner, would I vote to support your company rather than their company?
Did they contact you? For letter of support?
No. No, not yet.
The deadline's the end of the month,
Oh, I get it. I get it. I get it.
I'm here,
and you're asking for our
but
support.
I'm asking for your support.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
That's.
But there is competitors.
That's a valid question.
There is, it's about.
There is competitors out there.
There is competitors out there.
Right,
There
right.
is, and they're everywhere.
Well, is it gonna be awarded to just one service in
Yeah.
Ogemaw County, or
They
can
will.
it be distributed to numerous?
Depending on what you submit and what the federal government deems as appropriate for how they break it up. So
So it doesn't necessarily just have to be one company in Ogemaw County.
not typically, it just really is gonna hinge on what you guys feel is gonna be the best influence for some of these areas that Spectrum hasn't gone to. So there's, again, these are areas that they've been next to for years. And they haven't done anything. So,
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but you guys have been here too.
and I haven't been a big corporation having the
Oh,
money.
no, but you had some
steadily-
lines where you were up to that line and you didn't go any further.
We've been steadily building
We didn't
Okay.
hear
without
from,
funding.
Okay,
we didn't hear from anybody else, and we didn't hear that any other company was gonna match funds, but you had a valid question.
Correct.
it's just, we got your private business coming to the county government asking for our support.
Mhm.
Then the next question poses is what's in it for us?
We will get the fiber to the outlying areas where,
For a cost,
not from you.
but for a cost from somebody. You've come to us for money
Correct.
in the past. Now, you wanted our money. You've gone to the townships. I've seen you in
Yes.
many townships,
Very much.
not
so.
just mine, other ones.
Right.
So you've made it around. You're
You know-
a for-profit company. I can't blame you for wanting to charge somebody. I get it.
I'm a service like anything else.
Right.
Spectrum does the same thing.
Yes, they do.
They go to
Absolutely.
county commissioners, they go there and they ask for ARPA funding, and I was in several meetings with them asking for ARPA funds and all that other stuff, same premise.
Right.
So what's the difference between me and them?
Well, I'm not.
I'm here, so that's.
Yeah, thank
that's the
you.
only difference.
Yeah.
So are we in favor of putting this on for resolution? I am. We need a majority of commissioners.
I need to educate myself some more on this topic.
So how about we put it on for resolution and we vote on it next week? That'll give you adequate time to do your research, correct?
Possibly.
There's a deadline. Next week is our meeting.
He's waited this long to come here. I mean, I want to take some time to look into this.
So how much time are you asking for?
I think this week probably would be fine.
So would you like it put on for a resolution?
So when is the deadline? The end of the month?
End of the month.
Technically, the 20th is our letter gathering timeframe. I have like about 5 to 6 days after that to get any stragglers that are in on that, so. It's literally at the end of the month.
Well, we'll have to be a straggler because we wouldn't
It's
pass
only gonna
anything. for the
benefit the county.
23rd.
Correct.
It's only gonna benefit the county. Like, that's really like, I mean, we're bringing fiber optic over the airport region this year.
When did you apply for this?
And Point Broadband applied, they're applying right now. That's part of the application is right now. That's what this is for the application.
When did they let you know about it?
Couple months back, they released some of the information. I didn't know about the letter stuff until just recently.
Okay.
So these other counties that you say have come on board to support you, when did you go to them?
Same time frame, last week. And I mean, they talked to IOSCO last week and they got a letter from them. I just talked to the commissioners up in Oscoda at their meeting this week, and they wrote me a letter already, and I just got it today. Again, this isn't a contract. This is a showing support for us going after the funding that is federal funding that we're trying to expand to these areas to get fiber to these areas.
That's coming baak to Ogemaw County and you guys are gonna manage,
Yeah,
which has been a huge discussion with the ARPA funds. It's been the number one in the majority of our townships.
and these are areas like Island Lake and stuff up north. That's part of that area too. There's all kinds of these little pocket areas all over the county that have not had service because the bigger corporations couldn't afford to go there and they wouldn't do it. And I haven't been a national company with funds to do whatever I wanted to do. I've been a small, tiny entity up until now. Now I'm targeting all these areas in my communities because I want to see something get done. Because I grew up here and everything else.
Is $60 million the number? Is that what you're applying for?
I believe that's the overall somewhere in that vicinity. I don't have.
Or point is
Point,
applying
points
for
applying, I
60 million.
believe, for 60, yeah, it's somewhere right there. I
And
have-
they're saying to the government, we're willing to put up 50 or another 60 million.
I mean, some of it's even
60.
more. I mean, it depends on the area. Like I said, that's all based off of the area and the houses and the federal's guidelines as to how much they put in. They might be putting in more than that. It just depends on the area and what.
Well,
they
it's
want.
one grant application.
There's actually, it's depending on the counties and what they go after. So it's not just one. They're.
Oh,
one
so
for each
our county is one grant,
Mhm.
Iosco's another grant?
Yeah, it's just an overall encompassing.
So how much are you applying for county?
I
The
don't know.
number,
I have no clue.
okay.
I don't know what the numbers are.
Kim, did you get an opportunity to look at the paperwork that he's talking about?
Yeah, it's, I don't want to make it sound less than it is. It's a typical process for federal money.
Yeah.
And to seek the local support, this is, I'm sorry, my cynical view was the compromise. As Commissioner Wiltsey had pointed out earlier, you would think that those monies would come locally and then we would be distributing it like we do with ARPA. Well, the way this process went, the industry got involved in a big way and was able to lobby the powers that be, and they politely invited us out of that process so that they would follow the process that Mike's describing here, to where the industry itself is the one making the determinations of where lines go, what the priorities are, and so on. I'm not sure that's a bad thing. Obviously, we don't have that expertise. The industry does. So our input literally is this: letters of support, perhaps working with road commissions to expedite permit processes as infrastructure is put into place, but that's all they want out of the counties. So, you know, his asking is exactly what the program, right? So.
Do you see why we would have to just support, say, Spectrum did come to us? Why could we not provide them a letter of support as well? I don't understand why we couldn't. I mean, the more service for Ogemaw County, the better. So we'll put that on for a resolution. Are you okay with that, Commissioner Mayo?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Item 5, discussion items, Transit Committee.
We had a brief conversation at the last meeting about expanding the transit committee from being a standing committee of the board to we categorize that as rules of procedure as a special committee. And the process that was discussed was appointing, I think, Commissioner Wiltsey, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think appointing 3 other individuals. So you have a 5-person committee that would work with transit. So the charge for the board here is to, talk about what the structure of that committee would be. And just to make it as simple as possible, I would submit that you keep your 2 commissioners that you've appointed. Commissioner Wiltsey looks like is appointed as chair, and that you accept applications are from anybody in the county, unless you had any specific category you were looking for residents of the county to apply to be on the committee. And then it's important for the board to establish what is the committee supposed to do. And that I would rely on Commissioner Wiltsey. I have attended the committee's meetings to know exactly what they've talked about, but define what its purpose is. And is it going to end at the end of the year? Is this something that will be a standing committee of this size moving forward? That's the conversation the board needs to have. The rules for the committee itself, you could just simply refer the committee to your own rules of procedure. So that gets into things like posting meetings and complying with the Open Meetings Act, how they go about their business, what their agenda looks like, and so on. I don't think that's going to take a lot of time to recreate at all, but the board needs to actually establish it. And if you were interested in moving forward, we put together a resolution with those parameters and have you vote on it and start accepting applications.
Do you see any downfall to forming this committee?
I don't. You consider the amount of money that transit is in charge of and administers each year, and the complicated route that money takes to get here. I think it's actually a really good idea if you have another set of eyes on there that's focused on that, and then you can hear reports back from the committee regularly at every meeting, every regular meeting for that matter. That I think would provide a lot more communication than what we receive now. And I think everybody at the table here would be more educated about what we're doing at transit and maybe have a little bit more input about some of the programs that they offer.
Question, Commissioner Wiltsey, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, Tim pretty much cleared it up. I think it's important, try to get out there so as many people can see that we are looking for, 3 members of this. Would be nice, especially have someone that is consistently using the transit, it's just a matter of how we're going to be able to get out so that they're have the opportunity to apply if they would.
Is this going to be volunteer based? There will be no compensation for being on this committee?
That's up to the board to decide. I would submit that to keep things uncomplicated, that would be the best route.
Try that route first to see if we get volunteers.
You have one, right? That's already come in on the county's.
One came in ahead of any knowledge of this committee. It's just kind of neat.
Well, I talked to him, and yeah, he's a man that's involved in his township, and he's also sits on the 911 authority board. So he has some knowledge of committees at least, and he wants to be involved. I mean, so you mentioned somebody that rides a transit. I mean, do you want one position? I don't know how you do that. Because I rode the transit myself, but to say on a regular basis, I don't know how you would vet somebody to sit on that committee. Did you want, I guess what he's saying is like, I would just say 3 citizens at large is good enough, but if you wanted a township person set on a board, that's what he's saying about structure. We want to say 2 commissioners, 1 township appointee, from a particular township. Like your township gets a lot of business, and so does Rogers Township get a lot of business up there. Do you want appointees out of each one of those townships and then somebody at large?
I don't think we need to do that. I mean, I have some people in mind that I'm gonna talk to in Mills Township. And if Roger would have some people in mind in his township, he should talk to them too, but I don't think we need to get that.
Then just
specific.
go right to 3 citizens at large.
So I feel.
I think this needs to be advertised on our website, so anybody that's interested can at least apply for it.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you
once-
guys narrow it down.
Once 3 are selected, then it would come to the commission, this commission, and we would approve that.
Correct.
Right.
I'd be fine with that.
Sounds good.
Does it have to be advertised in the local paper as well, or can it just be on our website?
It can just be on the website, but I would suggest that we put it at least in the Herald anyway, just to get the
Word out.
word out. Yeah.
You guys are planning on meeting, just so in case anybody asks, once a month, once,
Well, right now, we've just been a little more aggressive every 2 weeks. We have another meeting, it's coming Tuesday, the 21st. But once we feel we're getting things in place, then we're gonna go to once a month.
monthly.
Yeah,
Okay.
leave that up. For second Tuesday of the month at 11 AM is what we're hoping. Once we feel like we're at a point, we're gonna just go monthly.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Mayhew? Comments?
And it's got somebody that drove the bus that wanted to be from West Branch Township.
Don't think you want employees on the committee.
No,
No, he was an employee.
He
Yeah.
was,
He
okay,
was.
He's retired.
okay.
He's on the board there and he talked to Brenda. I mean.
Yeah.
Like I said, he ought to know the nuts and bolts of the place. He's been there 26, 24 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So have to get out and apply. So on our website, there's gonna be an application, just like all these committees. That they fill out and put in their experience and interest and background. Okay. Anything more on that? Are you guys good?
Well, as far as structure goes, I think you're gonna oversee the budget for number one thing. And then, just an overview of a second set of eyes, overviewing operations, things like that. You're gonna, just like any other, I sit on airport, we hear from our manager. Revenue coming in, revenue going out. Projects, repairs, all that thing, that would, I think, would be this basic structure. Some of the basic structure. That's what you need to, that needs to be written up, right?
That'll be in the resolution.
Right, okay. Very good.
There has to be a template that you're able to, yes.
There is.
Okay, perfect. And then we can look at that and make it better. I would definitely get Ray involved as well. I mean, he needs to be included in this process.
yes.
Item B, opiate settlement committee.
So one of the prior meetings, we talked about establishing a subcommittee to help determine what the opioid settlement dollars might go for. I have a sheet out at each of your chairs here with Kelly. We did a little bit of brainstorming about who might be eligible, who might be a good potential member. And we came up with 10 different categories. I would suggest with a group this size that 2 commissioners would be very appropriate, and that one of those 2 be named the chair of the committee, because it is your committee and it is to help to assist you in defining where some of these dollars might go. The list, isn't really all that creative. We tried to think about who all is involved in the opioid situation now, and we tried to get each of those groups represented. Do want to point out the substance abuse recovery provider, which I think might be important, an important component to this, because I think that group will actually be seeking some of these dollars from you. And so to have that input, putting together a plan might be very helpful, as well as that mental health provider. And also we threw in the school representative, because this is an area where you're going to see some of this activity, you see some of the fallout from the opioid issue. And they may definitely have some insight. The rest of the list here you see are people that are really on the front line dealing with it now, whether it's law enforcement, healthcare, first responders, or whomever, with the idea of grabbing as much of that expertise as possible to help you determine which categories would be the priorities for funding. This particular settlement dollars, there's no deadline on when it needs to be spent. So this committee could really spend a good amount of time really thinking about how best to utilize those dollars. We are slated to receive in the neighborhood of about $107,000 a year for 18 years. The Janssen settlement, Janssen actually provided 5 years of funding up front. So that's why we have over 372,000 in the account right now. Despite that being there, again, there's no deadline on when to spend it, but there is that very lengthy list of categories that we received a couple of weeks ago of where the monies could be spent. Now the question is, where would it best be spent? And that's, I think, what the charge of this committee would be. So then the question really boils down to at this point is, how large of a committee do you want? I mean, this is 10 different categories already listed, but maybe you want 2 commissioners and 2 healthcare providers and so on. So those are things to think about before this group is established. I was able to contact a colleague down in Monroe County, and he's actually put together a very brief plan already for Monroe County. So when the committee is established, we've got a good template to start with. And granted, those are Monroe County issues. They may not totally match ours, but I think it's a good set of parameters for us to get going and maybe start prioritizing some of these dollars. Some of these things are going to be long-term commitments. So if we got money coming in for 18 years, we may have an 18-year commitment to something here to help with this whole issue.
I mean, I know we don't need to rush this, but yet on the other hand, this is a crisis, and even in Ogemaw County, I do think we need to definitely move forward with this to help this community and the residents. So I like the flow. I don't think there's anybody really. I think this is a very good representation of the county and who does see this firsthand. So I appreciate this list, and I think we'll be surprised on the what's the word I'm looking for? My gosh,
Caliber,
they're going to want to be a part of this. I do feel this is a good thing.
so you're volunteering to be one of the commissioners?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes. Comments, Commissioner Wiltie.
Well, I mean, I've expressed that I also would like to be on the committee, if possible. It's a great opportunity for us. It's a lot of money, and it could really be used for a lot of good things. So I definitely have a lot of interest. Also, with me being the commissioner that only has 1 township, taking on a few more committees, but I would definitely be willing to take this on as well.
Commissioner Scott.
No, we need to have this type of for this kind of money, we have to have this type of we have to have an overseeing of it. So I totally agree.
Commissioner Mayhew.
The 3 years you get it to start,
Sorry.
you said it was 100,000 something, but we're gonna get 372, 3 years up front.
We have 372 now. One of the settlement groups, the Janssen, provided 5 years up front. And there is one more group that we're getting alerts on through email that they're about to settle with. So when I said 107,000 a year, it's probably going to be more than that by the time they're finished. Those were the groups that we knew about. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were 1 or 2 more added over the next couple of years.
My question be, I mean, is instead of it being, you're figuring on 18 years, if they give us 3 already, we got 15 years.
For that one. For the other one, it's still on an 18-year plan, and they're providing, I believe, they have monthly payments of 43,000 or something like that. I mean, it's pretty convoluted, but it's definite, consistent, court-ordered funds that are going to be going out.
Right, and they're gonna have parameters on what you're gonna spend it on.
They do, right?
Participation was the word I was looking for. I think we'll be surprised by the amount of participation here. Now, for the court system, the prosecuting attorney or designee that you feel represents
Yeah, I didn't really think about the court so much, but the court is, I don't know.
Isn't Judge Williams he is primarily, and I apologize, I don't know the system. Thankfully, I don't know.
Family.
Isn't he the one who deals with adolescents in this type of issues?
Delinquency and neglect and abuse are handled through our court.
So is that Judge Williams?
Yes,
Okay. So that I also think he would,
but you also have district court that handles adult criminals that are potentially going to have people that are affected by the opioid crisis as well. So I don't want to speak for the courts.
Well,
I'm not speaking for the.
oh, absolutely. But do you feel on this committee that there should be a representative? We have the prosecuting attorney or designee on there, but as far as somebody else,
From the court system, I think it's
Yes.
worth a discussion with the judges.
absolutely. I think the more aware people are of the resources, which is what I'm sure some of this funding will be directed towards, the better. People that directly see this firsthand. So. What's the next step with this?
I would suggest that we would establish the committee, and again, that can be done like next Thursday, establish it by way of resolution. And I'll try to think of a way to keep this flexible. I mean, we have a list here. I don't know if you want to establish a number of seats or not. I mean, you can keep it flexible as people volunteer and come forward, you can add them, but I would be only afraid that it would get unwieldy at some
Yeah.
point.
I think a limit, like the EDC has a limit. That we ran into.
I agree. You're looking at 11 persons on this list here. That means 6 to make a quorum. So if you don't get the 6, you skip a whole meeting cycle. And you're talking about most all these are people that are working someplace. You know, that's a big committee.
Yeah, but this is a
It's a big
This is a
thing.
big deal. This is a
Well-
lot of funding and I think again, and it could be wrong, but I think the participation in this is.
Well,
it's gonna be
okay, but
overwhelming.
you know. We're talking the county operates 10 times the amount of money and only 5 people are on the committee.
Correct.
So, you know, if you're saying it's a lot of money, then you're not putting in proportion with other things either. That's just a lot. And 6 people to make a quorum. There's a lot of committees out there having a hard time with 5 and 7 people on the committee to come up with quorums. Just want to point that out.
Commissioner Wiltie?
I agree with Commissioner David. I think the participation is going to be extremely high. This is a very rare thing, and again, a great opportunity for us. But good money in some good areas, so I would like to see a larger board.
What number what number crosses your mind? With this, with 2 commissioners, and then we throw in an individual just because of the conversation that just took place from the courts, that would give us 12.
Right. I'd be fine with that.
Commissioner Scott, what number are you thinking? That needs to be on the resolution, correct?
7 or under.
I say 12. Commissioner Mayhew?
I ain't gonna be honest. So you'll be
We appreciate honesty around here. I mean, I think some valid points. And maybe this will have to be, this can be re-looked at, correct? If we do start struggling with forming a quorum and.
Yeah, totally under the control of the board. So if you get, a couple of weeks into this and you want to tweak it, it's totally your ability to do that. There's no statute that we need to adhere to or anything. It's just strictly a committee of this board.
Well, can we send messages out? Can Kelly reach out to some of these that are listed to see if there's an interest, maybe before we even come up with a number, to make sure that there's an interest? And then again, I think we're going to be surprised by the interest in here, but I think that would give us a better indication as well.
Thanks, good idea. Yeah.
signing up for 18 years.
Huh? Am I? No, I go under the commissioner, not the healthcare. Well, I would as a healthcare provider. Yes, absolutely. This is a huge passion and a huge problem,
Sign up for it.
and it directly impacts our kids. So. Do you guys agree with that? Seeking the interest first?
Sure, absolutely.
Sounds good.
Okay. Item C, standards of conduct policy. Tim?
Okay, I did not have a lot of time to really get into the policy so much since we last spoke, but there are a couple of things I did want to bring out. The first, in the draft that you have in front of you, you've got a paragraph in red under item A that is added. And again, thanks to Michael pointing this out, the court system already has a code of conduct, not only for the employees, but for the judges themselves. And what this paragraph does is references those codes of conduct, and they're actually attached to the document too, so that you can read those. And you'll see a lot of similarities, a lot of the same wording all the way up and down. But this gets to the issue that are wanting to comply with the federal requirements when we get federal dollars, that we have all persons involved with Ogemaw County who have a code of conduct that we adhere to, and we're able to hand this to the federal government, show them. We had the discussion about the USDA grants earlier. That's actually what prompted this to get this in front of you now. And I did want to let you know, we had a department head meeting on Monday, and we spent a lot of time on this. I went through each of these points and giving examples about what it meant for the appearance of conflict of interest and an actual conflict, and how that works and how that impacts decisions of the county, and giving some real world examples of cases of public officials who did not adhere to that and what the consequences were, and they were pretty severe. But department heads are very much aware of this. So they're like I had not a lot of feedback, a lot of discussion, but not a lot of change suggestions. The chair did speak last time about looking at the investigative procedures on page 6, item G. And in particular, if we do need to do an investigation, having some third party entity actually do the investigation, whether it's a person or an entity that does that sort of thing. I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure that we're going to have a lot of investigations that we're going to need to do. Hopefully we'll just get adherence. But if we do have one, it's very I think on point suggestion that it be fair, a third party that actually does that, somebody that doesn't come into the investigation with any kind of a bias one way or another. They're just simply telling us, did we have a problem here, and what should we do to fix it? I don't, off the top of my head, have any language to suggest. I did mention earlier we could have our attorney do that if it came to it. That might be overkill, frankly. It's really a question of, do I have a conflict with something? Do we want to call the attorney and have a big investigation? Maybe not. But if there is, we'll pick on the planning commission. If there is somebody who's made the accusation that there is a bias, it might be something we want to do at that point. So that's up for discussion too. Again, this isn't something that you have to adopt on Thursday, but it is an urgent policy that does need to be addressed sooner rather than later.
I guess then why wasn't that put into this item G, the investigation procedure? And I don't think that that's a fair statement. If we're concerned there might be bias, there's a possibility of any bias when one is investigating their own.
Mhm.
So I don't think that needs to go to our county attorney. I think no matter what the case is, if there's an investigation in a department, it needs to be investigated outside of that department, outside of this county. So isn't that could go under, or should, in my opinion, should go under investigative procedure?
It absolutely could. And this is all up for discussion. I mean, this isn't end all language that you see here. This is to get the conversation going. And here you see it's just falls to me to set up whatever team we want, but I would absolutely support a third party. I don't know who that would be. I mean, I guess that's the conversation we need to have. Who would we turn to do that? That would be the third party independent investigator.
Well, I think each situation is probably unique, but there are certain departments that do have.
We could leave it open-ended and just write in here that third party, independent, somebody not associated with the county, in recognizing that it would be a case by case basis. If it were, say, the sheriff's department, maybe somebody from the sheriff's association
Correct.
might be. And that wouldn't necessarily be the person you'd want doing an investigation with the clerk. There might be
Correct.
some other entity that would do that. So maybe that's the way to go. Just leave it very general and then deal with it when the specific circumstance arises.
Commissioners? Commissioner Scott?
That's fine with me. Of course, the group or the person or whatever investigates is still approved by the commissioners.
Yeah.
So we'd have final say on who did or who or what organization or whatever would do it. Yeah, that's fine.
Commissioner Wiltie?
Yeah, that's fine.
The other wording in here and I guess this is up for discussion, like you put in here, communicated in writing to the county administrator. It is then somehow in writing, I would like it also communicated to the commissioners, whether it be probably in closed session. Because there's nothing worse than being out there in the public and something being brought to you from a constituent on a matter that's a county matter that you, as a commissioner, knows absolutely nothing about.
You lost me at closed session because I'm not sure.
I mean, I don't know how you would bring that information, if that's what it would have to be. I guess that verbiage doesn't have to be in there, but I'm just saying as far as communicating to us.
Guess what she's saying is, somebody brings something to you, just an automatic, let us know. At least
Right.
what you know so far, and then keep on going.
Communication.
You already do that with the blind copy thing. So if there's a charge made against an employee or a supervisor or a whole office or whatever, it's an automatic that the administrator lets the commissioners aware of
The incident.
the incident, and then, of course, ongoing information as it comes.
Right.
We're meeting frequently enough that we could go to closed session if we need to and talk about the incident. But if it deems that, if it doesn't, then we can't, but we can talk in open session.
The reason I mentioned that is because that's been, I hate to use the word excuse, but that's what's been brought back in the past is this was something that obviously they didn't feel could be discussed in an open meeting. It doesn't mean that it shouldn't have been communicated with us.
Right, and communicating it to you, you can decide as a board whether it's something you want to discuss. And then we can talk about what does Open Meetings Act allow at that point. But point being that you need to be informed.
And you did the last incident. I mean, there was an email to us, I'm sure shortly after the incident, and that was appreciated.
Right.
Commissioner Mayhew? You're easy tonight. I'm just surprised by all the department heads had an opportunity to really pick through this. I'm surprised that there was no other changes.
We spent close to an hour on it, on just this. That's not to say there won't be some thoughts that come through. But yeah, I know it did resonate and it was taken seriously, and I can point right to Michael again. He was able to take back what we discussed and was able to give me the material from the courts that I, again, think is just absolutely makes us even stronger.
Okay. Have you guys had an opportunity to look it over closely? Okay. We'll put that on with can you send that verbiage out with those changes in that section?
I can do that rather than putting it on next Thursday. Let's bring it back to the next committee of the whole to make sure the language is what you want. And
Okay.
there may be other thoughts that trickle in between now and then too.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Item D, collaborative juvenile facility feasibility study is.
It's a proposal that's in the materials for tonight. To give you an update on where this came from. Gladwin County has taken the lead on keeping this project going, keeping the conversation going amongst the counties. What this proposal would do would be to actually give us some substance of what we're talking about. What are we facing? If we're building a building, okay, how big is the building going to be? How will it be staffed? all these questions that we have. This project would also include direct input from all of our courts in all 4 counties to talk about exactly what are the needs. And I say all 4 counties. Right now, we have the consultant here has commitments from Gladwin, Crawford, and Alpena County to participate at this level. And they're looking for the 4th county to round out the project itself and get this going. The project is really to help us define what exactly it is we're looking at, and then we can, as a group of counties, determine whether it's something we want to move forward with. And again, with the input of everyone who's directly involved, we should be able to have a very good idea of what we're looking at for commitments moving forward in future years. How much are we going to have to budget to keep it staffed? What if other counties want to participate? All of those questions. And what this project would do is help us get to that point, get you to the decision point to determine whether this is something we move forward with. They are asking for $5,000 from each of the counties, each of the 4 counties to start this off. The original proposal included an open-ended expenses line under the notes. So any travel, any overnights, any associated expenses, I asked that that be taken out. They had no problem taking that out. And so my commitment to the group was to bring that to you and find out what your thoughts are.
Thoughts, Commissioner Wiltie?
So you brought this to us back in January, right?
I was asked to be present by Tim to help answer questions. The court wouldn't be the entity moving this forward, it would be the county. So I was just, if you needed any sort of information, I would get that to you.
Okay.
So
So I know you had sent me some information on how many juveniles we currently from the county,
correct.
and they are currently, where are they being held at?
So we've had some success, limited success with Isabella County. In the past, I can tell you, we used Saginaw, we used Bay, we used Midland. We used pretty much every county out there. I did pull a couple more numbers for you just so you'd have them. We're in a weird spot because we're coming out of COVID. So all of these beds kind of are in weird lockdown situations with their county where they're not accepting out, some are not accepting out of county youth. But in 2018 and 2019, I took over the court administrator position in 2018. So I knew that data and the 2019 data as well. In 2018, there were 17 youth that spent 521 days in secure detention for an average of 43.4 days per month. In 2019, there were 457 days spent by 15 youth for an average of 38.1 per month.
Wow.
Now, we didn't have the facility across the street at that time. There are other factors that I think we would need, or you would need answers to help make any decision in moving forward. And I think that's what the feasibility study is for.
So
Go ahead, Commissioner Wiltie, I'm sorry.
So typically right now, Isabella is the number one place that we.
That information I'm just grabbing out of my brain to say, I know that we've placed a youth in Isabella within the last fiscal year, or the year that we're in now. Doesn't mean that's the only place that we've used. We've sent youth downstate, but I don't want to speak out of turn. I can get that information for you.
Okay, and then since 2018, could you give us that per year, how much this is costing the county?
Yes, we can. I can't do it right now.
No, right.
Yeah.
Commissioner Scott, oops.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say off the top of my, I'm not looking at my budget, but we roughly budget about $100,000 a year for this.
Mhm.
This.
Placement.
for
Line
this
items?
expense, for this line item, for this expense. And if you look back at the first number I gave you for 2018, I think if you do that math, it comes out, I rough estimated $175 a day for secure detention, which is about what we pay. And that comes out to about $91,000. So just to throw that number out there.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Scott?
this is something we need to get with these other counties and we should be working with them. We're gonna, to do this on our own is gonna be very costly. A lot of stuff, a lot of hoops to jump through. You know, we got some other counties that are interested in working with us. We should be doing that.
So are you interested in moving forward with this $5,000 to, that's where we're at. That's the questions we're asking right now. This $5,000 to join this study.
Yes.
Commissioner Wiltie?
I've got kind of mixed feelings. And it's obviously an important topic and we want to have facilities where these people are placed. And getting the right treatment and cost of the county, but I'm just thinking the overall cost of a building and which county it's gonna be in and I'd like to see some more numbers on, like say, this Isabella, when was that built? You know, are they profitable? Those type of things. Or I want to do a $5,000 commitment on a survey.
Commissioner Mayhew?
I got a little information that Grand Traverse and Leland is trying to build one, and they're up at 32 beds. It's like 21 to 25 billion.
That's possible.
Genesee, they've been at it since 21. They got 35 million, I guess, spent, and they got nothing. They get more money than we got.
What's going to be interesting to see, I mean, obviously, I agree. I think this is very much needed, but what's going to be interesting to see is what our cost is going to be in one full year with that facility next door. I mean, we dumped a lot of money into that, which again, we very much needed, but it's going to be interesting to see how much money that is going to save us here in our own county with that investment that we made. So hopefully there will be a lot less placed. When do you need an answer for this by?
These other three counties are in now, they're ready to go,
So if we don't move forward, what does that mean?
that means that they probably will move forward and will be on the outside looking in. The way I see this moving forward, if this happens, so let's say the 20,000 is spent, the feasibility study's done, it looks very appealing to all four counties that participate and this thing gets built. The structure moving forward is that those counties that are the core counties that built this will have a facility that they'll be able to utilize at very reasonable cost. But we also understand, particularly with the scattered nature of these four counties from Gladwin up to Alpena and over to Grayling, that we will probably have other counties who will need to use the facility or who would like to. And they will, of course, be charged at a rate that is higher than what the core counties would pay because they're going to need to make up time, if you will, and help with the things like bond payments and the general staffing that go on with it. So this is hopefully ends up being a cost savings proposition for the say four core counties that participate at the ground level.
It'd be really nice if we could get some funding to support this.
Yeah, I think frankly, if this ends up being feasible, that and the four counties or maybe if others join in decide to do that, I think that makes it a very attractive project for like state funding
Right.
to help offset some of those costs. So yeah,
We just went, the last meeting, we just talked about paying somebody to write grants. Well, this is what this does. It not only does that, but it sets up. This isn't just the 5 people, a person from every county coming to meet. They're gonna tap every year's resource out there to do this the right way. It costs money to do that. This is engineering costs, the basic, the preliminary engineering cost. And then in that whole thing is looking at funding options and things like that. This 5,000 is, I know 5,000 is a lot of money, but 5,000 for a project like this is just a drop in it is the first drop in that bucket. It's going to cost a lot of money. If you want to do this and be involved with the other counties, it's going to cost a lot of money. 5,000 is just to get something going here. This problem is not going away. This problem's getting bigger and bigger all the time.
Would you like to see the $5,000 put on for a resolution, Commissioner Scott,
Absolutely.
Commissioner Wiltie,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayhew?
No.
I think we can bring it to a vote. That way, we get everybody's opinion. And any information you're able to get to us in the meantime on this, anybody, would be appreciated. At least we'll put it on for a vote. Okay, item E, surplus property auction.
So our sale of surplus property policy requires that any auctions that we do bring this list, this inventory, if you will, to you for your approval. We've done a couple of these already to reasonable success. A lot of these items, look at that square metal table right on top. We may not get any takers on that. And if that's the case, it ends up at the landfill. We've been doing an awful lot of reviewing of what we have laying around. A lot of stuff has already been taken to the landfill. Some old chairs, for instance, that they were junk. And so a lot of this stuff is getting moved out, but these are things that may have some value to them. So I'm just going to ask that you would consider a resolution that we move forward with this auction.
Absolutely.
The poker table should be on here too.
Well, we'll see.
Do you guys have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem.
No.
No, let's
Perfect.
get rid of this stuff.
Item F, ARPA priorities.
Back you up just one more time on the surplus property.
And this one?
Today. You see, we've got the new scanner out at security. Well, we have an old one sitting in the boiler room. I think is where it is. Oscoda County is to our north has expressed interest in our old one. And I'm going to suggest that let me talk to them and let's see if we can move that up there. Actually, we'll have them move it. It's very heavy. And then they can get it into their building, but we really don't need the other one sitting around here. If it can be used someplace else. It's a municipality. The policy allows us to move items like that to another municipality, just as a matter of policy. So I'll follow up on that.
Okay, thank you. Surplus, ARPA priorities.
I don't know, given the hour and the weather, how deep you want to get into this tonight, but I did want to put in front of you, not only that the latest with all the updated numbers from animal control up until tonight. Anyway, where we stand in terms of the ARPA dollars, but more importantly, that next page where the summary of projects that remain, the projects that you funded are not on this list anymore. They've been taken off. But here is the list of projects from the last meeting that we had last year. Refresh your memories on these. These are also include all of those capital improvement projects that are in our capital improvement plan. Some of those are taken care of now too, so we'll get to update this list even further. I have had individual conversations with commissioners, particularly just over the last few weeks about, where are we? Can we fund the access doors out in front of this building so that they're automated? Can we do something else with the loading dock and so on? We can do all of that, but you as a board have to say, okay, these are the projects we're going to do, and then we move forward and do it. Again, probably not tonight, or unless there's some project that you all agree on that you want to fund. But we do need at some future, probably committee of the whole meeting to take another look at this. If there are other projects you want to add, maybe score them again. Whatever, but again, this money again is not, no longer has to be spent by a certain date, but we do have some infrastructure needs in our facilities that have been deferred for a couple of decades in some cases that really do need attention. And if we can move forward on them, probably the sooner the better. And I keep thinking of the entrance out here. I have more than once now witnessed people with disabilities trying to get up that slope, and it's not that great of a slope, but it is enough. It can get hard to push a wheelchair up there. We certainly could use the ADA compliant entry with the doors with the automatic button, to open the door for you. In fact, we'll have that done at the annex as part of that project. So things like that really are needed. And we've talked about safety improvements for that whole station right out there. and additional cameras in the building and so on. So all those things are great ideas, but we just need a commitment from the board before we can proceed.
I'd like to re-rate them. I mean, we have 3 new commissioners on board. I think that their opinion should definitely be utilized. I'd like to re-rate them. Take a look at this again as kind of fresh eyes.
Okay.
Commissioner Scott, your opinion?
Well, I brought this up and asked for some of this something that be on the agenda because last term, with the last commissioners, we pretty much had a consensus that we were going to spend this money on first on county projects, county-owned buildings, county-owned, county-operated things. So we did a rating system. That's what you're seeing here with the colored picture. And now I'm hearing from through the vine that, well, I know that there's outside entities trying to lobby for money. And I would like to stay on course that we take care of our own stuff first before we go outside of county operated things. I'd like to maintain that. But I'm hearing that, a commissioner says, oh, I think we got ARPA money. Well, I know that every township out there bugs me every month. Road commission bugs me every month. I hear it all the time and I tell them this is what we agreed on. And I'd like to stay on that course. That's it.
Well, I think that goes back to what I had just said, is that I think the new commissioner should have the opportunity to rate this. So
Sure.
we can appreciate their opinions and we can move forward.
Absolutely. We can do that. That's fine.
So can you get us that information? And continue to put this on the committee of the whole, because this is something we do need to continue to discuss. Goals for commission term.
Well, I warned you I was going to put this on here, but again, given the hour and the weather, maybe for another meeting, talk about goals for the board. And that really dovetails nicely with the whole ARPA thing as well. So maybe even talk about both of those at the same time. And I had reason to look at the calendar recently. It looks like we have a 5th Thursday coming up in March. And so that might be a time to think about having
Another meeting.
Just focus on this.
I really enjoy, I mean, I think we really got a lot out of that meeting when we were just discussing, we had a special meeting just to discuss ARPA funds, and that was the only discussion, so we had more time. So that's definitely, I don't have a problem with that. Do you guys have a problem with that?
Definitely not.
Per diem by Nova time.
Just give you the heads up. The board is the last group right now that isn't using the Nova time for talk about per diems now. This is obviously your pay is divided up into you get paid monthly or bi-weekly.
Monthly.
Set. I mean, you don't have to do anything more for that, but for particularly our committees are getting more and more active, and we've set up per diem rates for those. What we want to do is give you the access to the Nova time on your phone. So when you do have a committee meeting, you just punch it in and it goes into the system. And really, Tracy then just needs to push the print button so you get your check. Makes it very simple, but it's also keeping track again of with the accountability that goes with these committee meetings. It gets right into the system. Record is made and so on. So the heads up, we are set up to do it now, assuming you concur. I'm not sure if it'll be Tom that comes in or if it's Tracy, somebody to help you put the app on your phone, and then you're good to go. And it really won't take long. I think I actually went to the app store to download it. I'm trying to think, it's been so long since I did it.
Thanks.
But you'll have to have
3 minutes when I first started here.
3 minutes.
Tracy did it on my phone. Yeah, really quick. I have instructions printed out, but I obviously was running late and I think they're in my office. Megan set up and they're not here, so I think they're in my office.
Does it matter if we submit them? I think before we could either do monthly or quarterly.
For the per diems, they can be quarterly, right?
I know they're doing it with the planning commission now, so I know it works, whatever the system is. I don't know if it's quarterly. I don't know if it's, bi-weekly or whatever. You could probably do it in any way. I mean, just
Yeah.
punch your.
Paid
Did we,
pretty much.
did we get, and I know we recently passed a resolution, it was prior, I think, to the new commissioners coming on as far as being reimbursed for township meetings, is it just committees and boards?
I reviewed the resolution here just recently, and it was just committees and boards that we set on,
Okay. Someone asked me
and no mileage.
right, so it's committees, it's not townships. I know it was a lot of, we discussed it.
Talked about it, yes. The resolution we passed did not include townships.
Okay, I will.
As far as the Nova time, if I do claim a per diem, I will use the Nova time. I have not claimed it per diem for 5 years now, so
I haven't either, but things
that's,
have changed a touch.
yeah, things have. I don't know, I may.
Do you guys?
That's
wanna
just my
readdress
choice.
the-
I don't make that on anybody
to
else.
readdress the, what you get?
I don't right now, no, but I couldn't recall. And it was a discussion with another commissioner and I couldn't recall if I knew we passed a resolution recently, but I didn't know if the townships were on there.
Yeah. And the original. When we dropped healthcare back in my first term, and made the salary higher, we made the resolution at that point, there would be no per diems for the regular meetings.
Item I, Mr. Blamer has reached out to me twice and I wanted to briefly, now make it as brief as possible. As we know, he's been short-staffed over there at the transit. And recently they had 2 employees that applied for positions. And if I remember the conversation right, I know one of them, possibly both of them had license to drive, I don't know if CDLs or chauffeurs or what they had exactly prior to applying that was valid for that position. He sent them for their pre-employment physical and then sent them for their DOT. Which I'm not sure if that was the same visit, but I'm sure it was. Well, unfortunately, where they go for their DOTs, there's guidelines that we have to follow. I'm DOT certified. Certain providers might take the DOT guidelines to the extreme. Again, there is guidelines that we all have to follow. And so one, I believe both, but for sure one of the individuals did not pass the DOT. So he brought it to the county attorney, even though they actively have a DOT. If they had to actually get another DOT, even though their DOT was not expired. And I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. The pre-employment physical, absolutely. I believe that's protocol for any new employee for the county. I agree with that 100%, but I don't understand why they would have to go through. They're currently certified. It's a state license, why they would have to go through another DOT. So he said he took it to the attorney. I'm not sure, but I don't know if it's our county attorney, I'm assuming.
Better be.
He said this to me today. And it sounds like there was quite a bit of a discussion and investigation on it, and the county attorney did not see why they had to repeat a DOT. So he asked me if I was okay with that, and I said I would talk to you guys about it tonight.
Well, you're talking about a DOT drug screen.
No, I'm talking an entire DOT physical. This had nothing to do, well, excuse me, let me rephrase that. The drug screen is part of it. But this individual that we're specifically discussing, this had nothing to do with the drug screen. That was not the issue.
Okay, I don't believe that they have to have a CDL license.
They have to have a chauffeurs.
Yes, and I'm not sure I have a CDL license
Mhm.
and I have to get a CDL physical for my license every year
You can either go annually or every other year. It depends on your medical history.
or age, yeah. Anyway, I get it done every year now. I just got it done a week ago and I passed. I don't know at chauffeur's level. I don't think they have to, but then again, I don't know because that's a little bit of a different ballgame that I'm accustomed to. If they have a card, they're card carrying, they would. Now, we should, as a county, have a entry physical. Do we not have that?
A
already? That's a
pre-employment
policy.
physical, yes, that's
Yeah.
what I stated. But if they already have an active DOT,
Yeah, if they're card carrying, I don't know why they'd have to go get another one.
That's one of the things I suggested to Ray, the attorney, because I don't know what the federal rules are on that. But that's mind-boggling to me as well. Why would you need to recertify if you've already got the certification? Doesn't make sense.
he also brought it in part of our conversation was utilizing another agency for DOTs. So I did reach out. I know currently we're going through my Michigan. I did reach out to McLaren and ask them, the manager of McLaren West Branch, if that's something that they are able to do, because you have to be DOT certified. There's only a handful of providers in the county that are. He asked me if I was interested in it, and initially I said yeah, and then I backpedaled and said, I don't want any conflict of interest there. So I said, no, let me reach out to West Branch. And I did, and the manager didn't think it would be a problem. She just wanted to know as far as reimbursement, how they were going to get paid. The problem is McLaren does not do the drug screen. That's why they didn't put in for the bid on that, was the whole process. Apparently that's quite expensive to do the bathroom, and they got into all the details that I didn't need to know. So I told them I didn't think it was going to be a problem. I wanted to bring it to you guys' discussion. And again, there's guidelines that all of us providers have to follow. Some just take it to the extreme.
Well, I think we need to find out, because I know, because they're federally funded down there, there could be some rules. But we need to find out what the rules are. What is the requirement for a driver, and how often do they have to be tested and
No,
things like that?
No, I guess it's individualized. You have to be tested no matter what every 2 years, depending on your past medical history.
I get that, but the question you got here is this, the person had a card.
Has a
already.
valid card currently.
Right, and then why did he have to take the test again?
Ray sent him for a repeat DOT. That's his question to me is why? Why did he go for it? Why did I, not me, Ray,
Right,
have him go for a repeat DOT?
I guess I got the
thought
same question for Ray.
That's the same practice that he's been utilizing. He
Well,
was trying to follow what he was supposed to do. Now looking back on it,
yeah, well, maybe the rules changed and he hasn't heard about that. I don't know. I mean, this is probably something the committee needs to step in and take a look at. I mean, are you just doing this because you always did it? And have the rules changed? I mean, the federal government changed.
it's our rules at what we're doing. It has nothing to do with the federal rules.
It is.
It's how our county has been operating.
Like a pre-employment.
Correct.
We do a pre-employment, yes, but a DOT test, physical is different than a pre-employment.
Actually, in the DOT, this individual has a valid DOT.
Right,
He's
but
a carrier.
he's not given the job because he didn't pass a DOT.
No,
What didn't he
Previously.
pass?
previously he did not pass, he currently has a DOT card that is valid.
Okay,
He went for a repeat DOT,
I
even though
understand.
he wasn't due for one.
Right,
We sent him for one because that's what has always been done through the transit. Whether they were carrying or non-carrying,
well, what I'm saying is it law, so Ray's just doing this on his own,
correct,
sending people to a second test.
correct.
He has no basis for this request to do this, other than he's always done it.
Correct. So he wants to make sure he's doing things correctly,
Well,
moving forward.
then the first thing I would do is find out, does a transit driver by the federal law say that you have to have a new test? If they say
He reached out.
no, did he? He reached out?
Yeah, I said that once. He already reached out to our county attorney, who
Okay,
said that they do not have to go for a repeat
Well,
DOT.
then-
They have to go. I'm bringing it to everybody's attention, so everybody's on the same page.
okay. So then why does he do it then? If the attorney is backed up and said he doesn't have
This
to,
is all new information. The attorney let him know and you're part of this conversation, correct? Have you had communication with Ray since he's heard back from the
I said
attorney?
You need to call the attorney.
And he did.
Yeah, but to Commissioner Scott's point, if there's no mandate from the state or federal government that we do it, I have the same question, why are we doing it?
Correct.
Yeah,
So why doesn't he hire the guy? He's carrying a card.
He asked me today, that's his plan after this conversation, is he's going to move forward per the county attorney's recommendations of hiring this individual that has an active card.
Okay.
It did pass the pre-employment physical, but not the DOT aspect.
All right. I guess the next question I got is he using the same provider that we're using for new employees here?
Yes,
And then for drug screens also?
currently, yes.
And then I guess I would have to ask, in their contract, do we pay for CDL? Physicals?
By the way, I asked that same thing today, and it sounded like, yes, we do reimburse that.
I guess we'll have to refer to the contract, okay? Because contracts change too. I want to know. You know, I don't have a problem. I mean, my company paid for them,
Mhm.
but you know,
But if we're paying for something that we didn't need, I mean, why pay for it?
yeah, why do it? Yeah.
Right,
Okay,
good,
good.
clear as mud.
There's mud.
Item 6, public comment. Nobody? I don't blame you. Anybody on the phone? Public comment?
Jenny, I just want to let the board know that you guys do have Nova Time on your iPads. I don't have your login information. You'll have to get with Tracy on that, but you do have the application, so you can put in your per diems.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Do you have anything? Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Support. 7:27. All in favor? Yes. Say yes. I gotta go to Bay City in the